There is something powerful about making a promise to yourself. Not a grand gesture, not a sweeping declaration to the world, but a simple, silent promise whispered in your soul. A commitment that says, today, I will give myself 1 hour. Just 1 hour. Not for anyone else, not for your family, not for your boss, not for your obligations. 1 sacred hour that belongs only to you. It may not sound like much. 60 minutes. The time it takes to watch a TV episode or scroll through your phone until you're numb. But 1 hour a day, if used intentionally, can change the trajectory of your life. Not overnight, not by magic, but by conscious, consistent effort that aligns you with the person you are meant to become. When you take that hour and choose to read something that lifts your spirit, when you move your body, not to punish it, but to remind yourself that you are alive, when you sit still and breathe with intention, letting your mind unravel from the tangle of worry and regret, that's when change begins. Not in applause, not in recognition, but in solitude. When you give yourself 1 hour, you tell the universe, I am ready. Ready to heal, ready to learn, ready to grow. You create a sacred contract with your future self, and your future self is always watching. She is waiting to see if you will show up today, not in perfection, but in presence. She does not need you to have it all figured out. She just needs you to believe that your life is worth the investment of 1 hour, because it is. There are people all around the world who have risen from the ashes of pain, poverty, heartbreak, and despair. Do you know what many of them have in common? They decided to claim their hour. The hour when they write, the hour when they meditate, the hour when they train, the hour when they pray. That hour became their sanctuary. It became the proof that even in the middle of chaos, they still had a choice. It's easy to say, I don't have time. It's easy to stay busy and fill every gap with distractions that leave you feeling empty. But deep down, you know that time isn't the issue. The issue is permission. Will you give yourself permission to matter? Will you give yourself permission to prioritize your dreams, even if nobody else understands them yet? Will you be brave enough to believe that your life deserves more than just surviving? We live in a world that rewards hustle, glorifies exhaustion, and tells us that slowing down is weakness. But the truth is, you are not a machine. You are not meant to be constantly doing, proving, chasing. You are meant to become. And becoming requires space, it requires silence, it requires you to slow down long enough to hear the whisper of your own soul. 1 hour can be the difference between staying stuck and stepping forward. 1 hour can be the bridge between confusion and clarity. 1 hour can unlock something inside you that has been waiting to be seen, heard, and loved. And the most beautiful part, that hour compounds. Day after day, those 60 minutes add up. 1 hour becomes a habit. That habit becomes a lifestyle. That lifestyle becomes your new reality. You don't need to have all the answers to begin. You just need to be willing to listen to the voice inside that says, there is more for me. Willing to trust that your intuition knows the way, even when the path isn't clear. Willing to take small steps toward a vision that only you can see. Because the life you want is not out there waiting. It is within you, waiting for you to say yes. I have seen what happens when a woman chooses herself. I have seen the power that is unleashed when a man says, I will show up for myself, no matter what. I have witnessed the transformation that takes place when a person who once felt invisible begins to see their own light. It all begins with a decision. One sacred daily decision to invest 1 hour in your soul. Some people use their hour to write books, others to study a new language. Some use it to train their bodies, to build businesses, to nourish their minds. Some use it to rest, to walk in nature, to reconnect with their inner peace. It doesn't matter how you use the hour. What matters is that you claim it. What matters is that you show up to it like it is the most important appointment of your day, because that hour teaches you discipline. It teaches you boundaries. It teaches you how to say no to the world and yes to yourself. It becomes your mirror. In that hour, you will meet yourself over and over again. Not the self the world wants you to be, but the self you were born to be. The real you, the one who is wise and wild and worthy beyond measure. People often ask, where do I start? You start with what you have right now. If you have a journal and a pen, start writing. If you have a pair of shoes, go for a walk. If you have a quiet room, sit and breathe. If you have a library card, check out a book. If you have a voice, speak affirmations. You don't need more to begin. You just need to begin. Every great change starts with a seed. That hour is your seed. And like any seed, it needs time. You won't see results overnight. You may not feel different in a week, but keep going. Keep watering it with intention, with discipline, with love. One day, without even realizing it, you'll look around and see that your life has changed, not because of some miracle from the sky, but because you chose to become the miracle. You owe it to yourself to become everything you've ever dreamed of being. And that journey begins with 1 hour, an hour where you stop living on autopilot and start living on purpose. An hour where you choose to rise above the noise and listen to your own rhythm. An hour where you remember that your life is your own. This world will always try to pull you in a million directions. It will demand your energy, your attention, your loyalty, but you must protect your hour. Protect it like a mother protects her child. Guard it like treasure, because that hour is your life force. It is where you reconnect to your purpose. It is where you reclaim your power. It is where you remember who you are. You may not always feel motivated. You may have days when you feel tired, discouraged, or unsure. But show up anyway. Show up for the future you. Show up for the child in you who had big dreams. Show up for the version of you who forgot how to believe. That hour is your return to faith, to vision, to courage. You have everything you need within you. The wisdom, the strength, the grace, it's all there. But it needs space to rise. It needs time to unfold. And when you create that time, even just 1 hour a day, you allow yourself to bloom. There will be people who don't understand your journey, people who question why you're waking up early, why you're reading books instead of gossiping, why you're meditating instead of complaining. Let them wonder. Your life is not meant to be understood by those who are not walking your path. Your responsibility is not to explain yourself to the world. Your responsibility is to become the best version of you. So make the time. Get up an hour earlier. Stay up an hour later. Take a break in the middle of the day. However you find it, just find it. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait until the kids are grown or the bills are paid or the stars align. The time is now. Life is happening now. And if you don't make time for your growth, life will find a way to remind you what you're missing. 1 hour a day can be the difference between a life of regret and a life of fulfillment. 1 hour a day can turn confusion into clarity, pain into power, and dreams into reality. 1 hour a day is your sacred rebellion against the chaos. It's your declaration that you will not sleepwalk through life, that you will live awake, aware, and aligned. And when you do this consistently, when you show up for yourself every day, something incredible happens. You start to believe in yourself again. You start to see the magic in ordinary moments. You start to fall in love with your life. Not because it's perfect, but because it's yours. When you wake up every morning and know that there is an hour ahead of you that belongs to no one else, you begin to live with intention. That 1 hour changes your relationship with time. You stop chasing it and start partnering with it. You begin to realize that time has never been your enemy. It's been waiting on you to respect it, to use it, to honor the miracle that it is. Because every single second you are given is a gift. And how you choose to spend it says everything about what you truly value. You can tell yourself what matters to you, but your time never lies. This hour you give yourself is a declaration of self-worth. It's not selfish. It's not indulgent. It's essential, because the people who give the most to others are the ones who first give to themselves. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot uplift the world if you are constantly running on fumes. So many people burn out not because they are weak, but because they never gave themselves permission to pause, to replenish, to dream. The most fulfilled people are not the ones with the most money or followers or accolades. The most fulfilled people are the ones who look in the mirror and recognize the person staring back. They know who they are becoming, and they feel proud of the life they are building, not because it's flashy, but because it's aligned. They give themselves time to align. That hour is where the alignment happens. That hour is where you recalibrate. When the world tells you to do more, you learn to choose wisely. When the world tells you to be more, you begin to ask, who says? You stop trying to measure up to a standard that was never designed for you, and you start building your own. That's what the hour does. It gives you the courage to define success on your own terms. It empowers you to walk your own path, not the path others expect, but the one your soul craves. People spend their entire lives searching for meaning, and many never realize that the meaning isn't something you find, it's something you create. You create it in the hour you devote to your growth, your healing, your purpose. You don't stumble upon clarity by accident. You create it through consistency. Every single day you come back to that space, you are chiseling away the doubt and uncovering your truth. That hour is where you get to rewrite your narrative. Know how to dispel myth. You're not stuck with a story you've been handed. You don't have to carry the labels others have placed on you. In that hour, you reclaim your voice. You say to the world, this is who I am now. This is who I choose to be. And that is one of the most powerful things a human being can do. Choose. Some people are waiting for a sign. They're waiting for someone to tell them it's their turn. But the truth is, no one can give you permission to live your life. You give that to yourself. You don't need a green light. You don't need applause. All you need is willingness. The willingness to start, to show up, to keep going, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. There will be mornings when you don't want to rise, evenings when you feel too drained, but you show up anyway. Because that's how self-respect is built. It's built in the hours when no one is watching. It's built in the hours when you silence the noise and say, this matters. I matter. It doesn't matter how far you think you are from your dreams. It doesn't matter how many mistakes you've made. Every new sunrise is a blank page, and that hour is your pen. What will you write? What will you create? What will you choose to believe about yourself when the world goes quiet? Your transformation is not going to come wrapped in fireworks. It's going to look like ordinary moments stacked upon each other. A quiet morning where you stretched and smiled for the first time in weeks. An afternoon where you chose a book over scrolling. An evening where you said no to what drains you and yes to what feeds you. These moments matter. They build your life, brick by brick, word by word, breath. There's nothing small about small steps. Every giant leap began with a decision, a commitment, a beginning. So don't dismiss the power of what looks like a small act. Sitting in silence for 10 minutes is not small when your life has been filled with noise. Drinking water instead of numbing yourself with sugar or caffeine is not small when you've been disconnected from your body. Saying one kind word to yourself in the mirror is not small when your inner critic has been loud for years. These are not small things. They are acts of rebellion. They are acts of awakening. 1 hour a day is a revolution, a personal revolution, a chance to change the story, not just of your life, but of every life you touch. Because you don't heal in isolation. When you rise, you lift others with you. When you take ownership of your time, you inspire others to do the same. Your transformation gives others permission to believe in theirs. So often we think we need to wait until we're ready, but ready is a myth. No one feels ready when it's time to grow. Growth feels uncomfortable. It feels uncertain. It feels like leaving behind the safety of who you were to become someone you've never met. But that's the point. If you're waiting to feel brave before you act, you'll be waiting forever. Courage is not a feeling. Courage is a choice. A choice you make every time you enter that hour and say, let's begin. You don't have to do it perfectly. You don't have to have a plan for every day. Some days you will journal. Other days you'll just breathe. Some days you'll cry. Some days you'll laugh. All of it is welcome. That hour doesn't have to look productive to be powerful. It doesn't have to be impressive to be meaningful. It only has to be honest. They may not understand why you're changing your schedule, protecting your space, or setting new boundaries. But remember this. People who truly love you want to see you whole, not just available. And if they don't understand now, that's okay. They will see the light you begin to radiate. They will feel the peace that grows within you. And one day, they may be inspired to find their own hour too. Your hour is where your real life begins. It's not the version of life you perform for others, but the life that is deeply rooted in truth. In that space, you are not trying to impress. You are trying to align. And when you live from alignment, everything changes. Your decisions become clearer. Your relationships deepen. Your joy expands. Because you are no longer chasing what doesn't belong to you. You are living from a place of knowing. That knowing can only be cultivated in quiet, in solitude, in presence. It cannot be rushed. It cannot be faked. It is something you grow into with time, patience, and grace. And once you have it, you will never want to go back. Because nothing compares to the peace of living in integrity with yourself. It's not always going to be easy, but it will always be worth it. Every hour you give to yourself is an investment in a future you can't yet see, but can already feel. That feeling, that pull in your chest that says, there's more for me. Listen to it. Trust it. It's guiding you. That voice inside you is your compass. And every time you honor it, it gets louder, stronger, clearer. You may have days where you feel like you're not making progress, days where nothing seems to change. But keep going. The roots are growing even when you can't see them. The shifts are happening even when they're invisible to the eye. Your consistency is building something indestructible. Belief. Because that's what the hour gives you most of all. Belief in yourself. And belief is the foundation of everything. Without it, you won't even try. But with it, there's nothing you can't do. Your life is a canvas. Every hour you spend showing up for yourself is a brushstroke. And slowly, over time, you'll step back and see the masterpiece you've created. Not perfect, but beautiful. Beautiful because it's yours, because it came from your truth, your love, your dedication. There are so many people who have the potential to live extraordinary lives, but they never create the time to unlock it. Don't let that be your story. Don't let your brilliance stay hidden under the weight of distraction, fear, and busyness. Choose to shine, choose to rise, choose to honor your life with one sacred hour every day. That's all it takes. 1 hour, one decision, one commitment. And from there, everything begins to shift, not all at once, but inevitably. Because what you nurture will grow. And when you nurture yourself, you become unstoppable. The world needs you, not the version of you that's exhausted and running on empty. The real you. The one who remembers why you came here. The one who still believes in magic. The one who knows that love, joy, and purpose are not luxuries. They are your birthright. So give yourself that hour. Let it be your anchor. Let it be your sanctuary. Let it be the place where you remember over and over again that you are enough, that you are powerful, and that you are becoming. There is something sacred about showing up for yourself when no one else is clapping, when no spotlight is on you, when you're not getting likes, shares, or recognition. That one quiet hour a day becomes the altar where you remember your worth is not transactional. You do not need to prove, please, or perform to be valuable. Your worth isn't earned by how much you do or how much you give others. It's yours by birthright. But the world has done a good job at making you forget that. The hour helps you remember. The hour tells you you don't have to be everything to everyone. You just have to be true to you. The hour isn't about productivity, it's about presence. In that time, you learn how to sit with yourself again. You learn to listen. You learn to hear the whispers of your soul that have been drowned out by noise for far too long. You begin to realize how loud the world is, not just in sound, but in expectation. And in the stillness, you hear the truth that says you've always been enough, you just forgot. In a culture that celebrates burnout and busyness, choosing to slow down is a radical act. Choosing to pause is brave. Choosing to be present with your thoughts and feelings instead of numbing them is courageous. In that hour, you reclaim your power. You realize that the life you want isn't found in hustle, it's found in harmony. It's not about how much you can get done. It's about how aligned you can become with who you really are. Some days that hour will feel like a lifeline. Other days it will feel like a reunion with the parts of yourself that got buried under expectations and obligations. The playful part, the creative part, the gentle part, the curious part, the one that dreamed without limits, the one that believed in love, in joy, in wonder. That part of you isn't gone. It's just been waiting for you to come home. And the hour is your key to the door. Most people don't realize that transformation doesn't happen with noise. It happens in the pause between breaths, in the quiet moment before the leap, in the stillness where you confront what's real. That hour becomes your mirror. It reflects back your fears, your longings, your hopes, your disappointments. And instead of running from them, you begin to face them with compassion. You stop trying to fix yourself and start understanding yourself. That's where the shift begins. You begin to talk to yourself differently. You stop calling yourself lazy for needing rest. You stop shaming yourself for past mistakes. You stop belittling your dreams. You begin to say things like, I'm learning. I'm growing. I'm worthy now, not later. You begin to mother yourself, mentor yourself, motivate yourself. You realize that the love you've been craving from others, you can start giving to yourself every single day. People wait for external change. They think if the relationship improves, if the job gets better, if the money flows in, then they'll feel peace. But it doesn't work that way. Peace begins in the hour, in the decision to sit with yourself and say, even if nothing changes, I will choose peace right now. And from that peace, your life begins to rearrange itself, because everything in your outer world mirrors your inner world. You cannot be chaotic inside and expect calm outside. You cannot be critical inside and expect kindness from others. You cannot be exhausted inside and expect your life to feel energized. That hour is your place of calibration. It's where you match the frequency of the life you want to live. Not someday, not eventually, now. And as you align with peace, joy, clarity, love, those very things begin to find their way into your experience. You stop chasing things and start attracting them, not because you're manipulating outcomes, but because you become a match for the experiences you desire. That's the beauty of the hour. It transforms you from within. And when you shift internally, the external world can't help but respond. That's not magic. That's alignment. Think of how many hours you've given to other people's dreams, other people's expectations, other people's opinions. Now, imagine giving just 1 hour a day to your own soul. Imagine what might change. Imagine who you might become. You might reconnect with a talent you buried years ago. You might write the first sentence of a story that changes someone's life. You might forgive yourself for something you've held on to for far too long. You might look in the mirror and smile, not because you look different, but because you finally see yourself clearly. That hour may lead you to walk away from what no longer serves you. It may help you make peace with a past that's haunted you. It may give you the strength to speak your truth or to finally rest. That's the power you hold when you give yourself the gift of presence. You become the creator of your experience. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop rushing and start living. And yes, there will be resistance. Your mind will tell you that you don't have time, that other things are more important, that you can start tomorrow. But that's the voice of fear. That's the voice of conditioning. And you are not here to live a conditioned life. You are here to live a conscious one. So you breathe, you acknowledge the fear, and you show up anyway. Discipline doesn't have to feel like punishment. It can feel like devotion. Devotion to the person you are becoming. Devotion to the life you know you are meant to live. That hour becomes your temple, your practice, your sacred offering. It's where you say, I choose me, not in arrogance, but in reverence. It can be movement or stillness, silence or song, reflection or action. It can be whatever you need, whatever your soul is asking for. There is no right way to spend it, only an honest way, a true way, a way that brings you back to life. Not the life the world expects of you, but the life that sets your heart on fire. There is a version of you that exists on the other side of consistency, a version of you who is grounded, clear, confident, and free. That version isn't born from one grand decision. It's born from small, repeated acts of self-honor. 1 hour, 1 day, over and over again, until one day you wake up and realize you've become the person you once only dreamed of being. And when that happens, something else begins to shift. You begin to notice the beauty around you more. You begin to feel connected to life in a deeper way. You start to love without fear, to give without depletion, to create without judgment. You start to feel like yourself again, maybe for the first time, because you didn't abandon yourself this time. You didn't put your healing last. You didn't silence your needs. You listened. You acted. You devoted time to the most important relationship of your life, the one you have with you. And in that process, you realize you're not alone. Because when you tune into yourself, you tune into something greater. Call it intuition, spirit, source, whatever name fits your truth. But it's there, and it speaks in the quiet. It leads in the stillness, and it always, always guides you home. So no, you don't need to change everything at once. No, you don't need to figure it all out. You just need to choose you for 1 hour a day. Choose to breathe, to move, to reflect, to connect, to rest, to create, to love. Choose to show up messy, imperfect, and whole. The rest will unfold from there. There's a moment in every life when silence speaks louder than all the noise that surrounds us. It doesn't announce itself with thunder, and it doesn't need an audience. It arrives quietly, like the breath between your thoughts, the stillness between your heartbeats. That silence is not emptiness. It's not absence. It's not something missing. That silence is power. It is presence. It is a magnetic force that pulls the universe into alignment with your truest self. In a world that constantly tells you to speak up, to hustle, to be seen, to make noise, choosing silence can feel like rebellion. But it is in that rebellion that you rediscover your strength. As life has a rhythm, a frequency, a vibration. And when you stop talking, stop explaining, stop defending, you begin to match that vibration. You begin to tune in to something higher, something more real, something more whole. You begin to attract the things meant for you. Not by force, not by desperation, but by alignment. You become a magnet for miracles because you're no longer blocking your blessings with noise. So many people live their lives running from themselves, running toward approval, running from fear, running toward validation. But silence stops the running. Silence makes you sit still. Silence forces you to look within and say, who am I without the applause? Who am I without the likes? Who am I without the validation of people who don't even know my soul? And when you answer that question, you unlock a part of yourself that can never be shaken. You don't have to scream your worth. You don't have to beg anyone to see you. You don't need the world to clap for you because you've already clapped for yourself in silence. You've already seen yourself in the mirror of stillness. You've already met the most powerful version of you within. That version of you doesn't panic when people walk away. That version of you doesn't need to argue with ignorance. That version of you doesn't waste time proving what you already know. You already know you're worthy. You already know you're enough. You already know you're destined for greatness. And when you know that, when you deeply, unapologetically know that, then silence becomes your sanctuary. Everything in this life has a season. There is a season to speak and a season to be still. There is a season to push and a season to surrender. There is a season to chase and a season to attract. And in your silent season, you are not inactive. You are not invisible. You are not forgotten. You are becoming. You are healing. You are aligning. You are preparing to receive. Don't mistake silence for weakness. Silence is not weakness. It's wisdom. It's discipline. It's strategy. When you're silent, you learn who's really listening. When you're silent, you hear who's really speaking from love and who's speaking from fear. When you're silent, you see who's for you and who's just around because of what you provide. You don't have to argue when you know your truth. You don't have to correct every misunderstanding when your spirit is clear. You don't have to convince anyone of your value when your soul is aligned. The right people, the right opportunities, the right moments, they don't need persuasion. They need presence. And your silence is a statement of presence. Your silence says, I know who I am, and I know what's mine cannot miss me. There is a divine power that answers to stillness. There is a sacred law that responds to inner peace. The quieter you become, the more you hear. The less you force, the more you receive. And the more you honor your silence, the more the world begins to reflect your inner knowing. There is no shame in stepping back. There is no weakness in resting. There is no failure in pausing. These moments of silence are not detours. They are preparation. They are calibration. They are sacred spaces where the universe rearranges things in your favor. You are not falling behind because you're silent. You're not being forgotten because you're not visible. You're being molded. You're being refined. You're being taught to listen deeply, to hear what isn't said, to feel what cannot be spoken, to trust what you cannot yet see. The noise will try to convince you that silence is a void, that it means nothing is happening. But silence is never empty. It is full of messages, full of clues, full of answers. You just have to trust it. You just have to lean into it. You just have to let it speak. When you stop needing to prove yourself, you become unstoppable. When you stop needing to defend yourself, you become unshakable. When you stop needing to respond to every challenge, you become magnetic. You become a force that doesn't chase, but attracts. Not because you're trying, but because you're aligned. Be silent when they underestimate you. Be silent when they judge you. Be silent when they provoke you. Because your silence doesn't mean you're weak. It means you are wise enough to know that you don't need to play their game. Your silence is your confidence. Your silence is your power. Your silence is your inner knowing saying, I've already won. The most powerful transformations happen in silence. The seed grows in silence. The sun rises in silence. Healing happens in silence. And just like the seed, just like the sunrise, just like the healing, you too are growing, rising, and evolving in silence. Let people misunderstand you. Let them misinterpret your stillness. Let them talk. Your job is not to control their perception. Your job is to stay rooted in your truth. Because your truth doesn't need validation, your destiny doesn't need confirmation, and your peace doesn't need to be explained. When you are silent, you stop being reactive and start becoming intentional. You no longer waste energy on things that don't serve you. You no longer feed distractions. You become focused. You become clear. You become powerful. The universe responds to your vibration, not your volume. So turn your attention inward. Nourish your spirit. Listen to your heart. Honor your path. And trust that what is yours will always find you. Not because you yelled for it. Not because you begged for it. But because you became it. Because you matched the energy of what you desired. And that energy is often quiet, still, graceful. There is magic in not reacting. There is peace in not participating in every conflict. There is power in knowing when to be silent. And that kind of silence, rooted in self-awareness, in confidence, in clarity, is louder than any noise you could ever make. You are not missing out when you are silent. You are tuning in. You are not losing time when you are silent. You are gaining wisdom. You are not being left behind when you are silent. You are being pulled forward by something greater. Be silent and you will see. Be silent and you will hear. Be silent and you will know. Be silent and you will feel. Be silent and you will receive. Everything you're looking for is already on its way. It just needed you to stop shouting long enough to notice. It just needed you to stop forcing long enough to allow. It just needed you to be still long enough to receive. So sit with yourself in the quiet, in the dark, in the unknown. Let the silence show you who you really are. Let it strip away the noise, the distractions, the false beliefs. Let it guide you back home to your soul, to your truth, to your purpose. You don't have to beg life to give you what you want. You don't have to chase what's meant for you. You don't have to shout to be seen. You just have to trust the silence. Honor it, welcome it, and know that in that silence, you are becoming a vessel for miracles. You are becoming everything you are always meant to be. Be silent, and you will get everything in life. It's not the noise that brings fulfillment. It's not the applause. It's not the loud declarations of ambition. The most powerful breakthroughs happen when no one is watching. In those early hours, when it's just you and your breath. When your mind is finally quiet enough to listen to your soul. That's when clarity rises. That's when vision becomes real. That's when you remember what truly matters. You've been taught that action equals progress, that speaking up is strength, and yes, there's a time for that. But silence is the sacred ground where all strength begins. You don't need to make noise to grow. Flowers don't shout as they bloom. Rivers don't scream as they carve through mountains. And you, in your stillness, are moving more mountains than you realize. Your silence isn't just the absence of words. It's the presence of power. It is the container that holds your deepest knowing. It is the place where your faith whispers, where your purpose breathes, where your future aligns itself with your presence. And when you live from that space, when you learn to walk through life with quiet confidence, you become unstoppable. You walk differently. You carry yourself with a sense of destiny. You stop explaining because your energy explains for you. There's something irresistible about someone who doesn't need to be loud to be felt. Someone whose silence speaks volumes. Someone whose calm presence shifts the entire room. That can be you. That will be you. But only if you stop trying to prove yourself. Only if you allow yourself to simply be. Stop announcing your every move. Stop sharing your every goal. Stop giving people access to your plans before they've manifested. Your silence is sacred. Protect it. Use it as your shield. Use it as your strategy. The more you protect your silence, the more potent your actions become. The less you explain, the more you expand. The quieter you are, the more people lean in. Not because you demanded attention, but because you embodied it. It takes courage to be silent when others are screaming for attention. It takes strength to resist the need for validation. But if you want a life that's rooted in truth, not performance, then you have to get comfortable in the quiet. You have to be okay with being misunderstood. You have to let go of the need to clarify, correct, or convince. Not everything requires your response. Not every insult deserves your defense. Not every lie needs your correction. You are not here to manage other people's perceptions. You are here to live your truth in peace, in power, in purpose. Let your energy speak before your words do. Let your character speak before your story does. Let your actions speak before your ambition does. And most of all, let your silence carry the weight of your worth. There's a frequency in silence that carries the wisdom of centuries. Our ancestors knew it, the mystics knew it, the visionaries knew it, and now you are being called to remember it. You are being asked to trust that you don't need to be seen to be significant. You don't need to be heard to be honored. You don't need to be loud to be legendary. There is power in moving in silence, in making progress without performance, in creating impact without announcement, in becoming more without telling the world. And when you live from that place, your presence becomes your legacy. You are not here to compete. You are here to create. You are not here to rush. You are here to rise. You are not here to convince. You are here to become. And that becoming, and it's happening right now, in the stillness, in the silence, in the sacred space where you are finally remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. Don't let the volume of the world drown out the voice of your soul. Don't let the noise of comparison steal the joy of your journey. Don't let the pressure to be seen make you forget the power of being present. Everything you need is already inside you. Every answer, every direction, every miracle. And the only thing standing between you and that truth is noise. Silence strips away the noise. It removes the layers of doubt, fear, insecurity. It exposes what's real. And what's real cannot be taken from you. What's real is your intuition. What's real is your peace. What's real is your vision. And when you get quiet enough to feel that, no one can shake you. No one can talk you out of it. No one can distract you from it. Sometimes the most revolutionary thing you can do is to go silent and do the inner work, to unplug, to go inward, to heal, to feel, to let go. Because the real transformation is not in becoming louder. It's in becoming clearer. And clarity lives in silence. You don't need to respond to every challenge. You don't need to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't need to win every debate. Sometimes the highest response is none at all. Sometimes the strongest reaction is stillness. And sometimes the most powerful move you can make is no move, just presence, just patience, just poise. In your silence, you reclaim your power. You gather your energy, you renew your spirit, and you rise, not in noise, not in panic, not in desperation, but in quiet certainty. You rise in alignment. You rise in peace. You rise because you finally understand that you don't need the world's permission to grow. You only need your own. Every time you choose silence over reaction, you choose healing. Every time you choose silence over validation, you choose confidence. Every time you choose silence over noise, you choose alignment. And alignment is what makes you unstoppable. There's a strength in staying silent that most people will never understand because they haven't learned to sit with themselves yet. They haven't learned to find comfort in their own presence. They're still looking for themselves in the reflection of others, but you're different. You've learned to look inward. You've learned to let silence be your teacher, your healer, your guide. And in doing so, you've become unshakable because you no longer need the world to tell you who you are. You already know. You've already seen yourself in the stillness, in the waiting, in the quiet becoming. And that knowing, that deep, grounded, unmovable knowing, that's what gives you everything you desire. Let the world think you've disappeared. Let them wonder where you went. Let them assume you've stopped. What they don't know is that you're rising quietly, steadily, powerfully, without fanfare, without applause, without noise, because real power doesn't need to announce itself. Real power just is. You don't need to force the door to open. You don't need to demand attention. You don't need to manipulate your way into spaces that were never meant for you. When you're silent, you begin to recognize what is meant for you by how it finds you, by how it arrives gently, aligned, divinely timed. Silence doesn't mean you're doing nothing. Silence means you're trusting something greater than your ego. It means you're in sync with the rhythm of life. It means you're allowing life to move through you rather than trying to control every step. And in that flow, in that surrender, you receive more than you ever could through force. So rest your voice, calm your mind, still your spirit. You are doing more in silence than most people do in chaos. You are creating space for the miraculous. You are opening the door to everything you've ever wanted, not by chasing it, but by becoming it, by matching its energy, by embodying its essence. Hey everyone, this world will try to distract you. It will try to convince you that louder is better, that faster is smarter, that more is always the goal. But you know the truth now. You know that silence is the soil where all your greatness will grow, that stillness is the sanctuary where your highest self lives. That peace is the platform where your true purpose will rise. And when you walk in that truth, when you live from that place, when you allow silence to be your power, you don't just get what you want. You get what you need. You get what you deserve. You get what is meant for the deepest part of your soul. Everything is working in your favor, even in the silence, especially in the silence. Stay with it, trust it, honor it, let it carry you home to yourself. When you stop seeking validation from others, you begin to realize how much energy you've been pouring into things that don't truly nourish your soul. You give so much of yourself away when you constantly look for approval, when you desperately need someone else to say, you're enough. And what you don't realize is that you already have everything you need within you. It has always been there. You don't need someone else's approval, someone else's stamp of success to make you feel worthy. You simply need to believe in your own worth. And the truth is, you don't find that worth through noise. You don't discover your value by shouting it to the world. No, you find your worth when you become still enough to listen to the quiet whisper of your soul. That whisper has always been there, but the world is loud. The distractions are many. The noise is overwhelming. And so we run. We chase, we hustle, we strive, but in doing so, we lose connection with the very essence of who we are. You see, silence isn't just the absence of sound. It's the presence of everything that truly matters. It's in the silence that we reconnect with our dreams, our vision, our purpose. It's in the silence that we become aligned with our true self. It's in the silence that we heal. Healing doesn't come through talking about it. Healing doesn't come from seeking constant validation or sympathy. Healing comes when you are brave enough to sit with your pain, sit with your wounds, and let them heal in their own time. It's when you stop running away from the hurt, when you stop hiding from the discomfort, and you sit with it. You allow yourself to feel it, to process it, and then to release it. And in the silence, you realize something profound. You are not broken. You never were. You may have experienced pain. You may have faced hardship, but those things don't define you. They are part of the story, but not the entirety of it. The silence reminds you that you are whole, that you are resilient, that you are capable of overcoming anything that life throws your way. And when you step into that knowing, when you embrace it fully, you begin to walk through the world with a quiet confidence that no one can shake. There is nothing more powerful than someone who has made peace with themselves. When you've made peace with your past, when you've made peace with your struggles, when you've made peace with your imperfections, you become unstoppable. Because the world can no longer control you. No one can use your past against you. No one can manipulate you with their opinions. You are untouchable. You are free. And that freedom comes not from fighting, not from arguing, not from forcing your way through life. It comes from choosing peace. It comes from choosing stillness. And in that stillness, you realize that you don't need to chase anything. You don't need to force your way into places that don't belong to you. You don't need to beg for what is already yours. The universe has already aligned everything you need to you. All you have to do is trust that it is coming. Trust that it is already here. And when you trust, when you stop trying to control everything, you will start to see how the pieces of your life fall perfectly into place. The more you live in silence, the more you see how much you were running from. You were running from discomfort. You were running from uncertainty. You were running from the unknown. But the truth is, the unknown is where the magic happens. The discomfort is where the growth happens. The silence is where you come into alignment with who you really are. And when you allow yourself to lean into that discomfort, when you stop trying to escape it, that's when you discover your true power. The power to stand still in the face of uncertainty. The power to remain calm in the midst of chaos. The power to trust the process even when you don't know what's ahead. And that power is what will carry you through every challenge. That power is what will guide you toward your dreams. So many people get caught up in the hustle and bustle of life. They are constantly striving, constantly pushing, constantly seeking approval. But what they don't realize is that they are running in circles. They are chasing something that is already within them. They are searching for happiness outside of themselves, when the truth is, happiness comes from within. Happiness comes when you stop seeking validation, when you stop trying to prove yourself to others, and when you start to honor your own worth. Happiness comes in the moments of stillness. Happiness comes when you embrace the silence. Happiness comes when you trust that you don't need anything or anyone to complete you. You are already complete. You have everything you need to be happy, to be successful, to be fulfilled. It's all inside of you. And when you realize that, you begin to walk through life with a quiet assurance that nothing can take away. In the silence, you find your strength. In the silence, you find your courage. In the silence, you find your peace. And in that peace, you find the power to create the life you've always dreamed of. Not through force, not through noise, not through struggle, but through stillness, through trust, through alignment. And when you live from that place, when you embrace the power of silence, everything begins to shift. The universe starts to move in your favor. Opportunities start to present themselves. People who align with your energy come into your life. And you begin to see that everything you've ever wanted was always within reach. You just had to stop chasing it. You just had to stop running from yourself. It's time to stop trying to control every outcome. It's time to stop trying to make everything happen on your own. It's time to trust the process. It's time to trust that the universe has a plan for you. It's time to trust that everything you need is already on its way. And when you trust, when you let go of the need to control, that's when you allow yourself to receive everything you've ever wanted. When you stop chasing, when you stop forcing, when you stop running, that's when you finally allow yourself to be. You allow yourself to be present. You allow yourself to be still. And when you are still, when you are present, you are aligned with your highest self. And when you're aligned with your highest self, nothing can stop you. So take a moment to breathe. Take a moment to be still. Take a moment to honor the silence. Because in that silence, everything you need is already there. In that silence, you become everything you've ever wanted to be. In that silence, you unlock the power within you to create the life you've always dreamed of. And when you step into that power, when you embrace the stillness, you will begin to see the world respond to you in ways you never imagined. You will begin to see the doors open, the opportunities arise, and the miracles unfold. Not because you forced them, not because you chased them, but because you allowed them to come to you. And in that moment, in the quiet stillness, you will realize something profound. You already have everything you need. You always did. All you had to do was be silent enough to hear it. All you had to do was trust enough to receive it. So let the world be loud. Let the world keep pushing, keep striving, keep running. You, my friend, are on a different path. You are walking in silence, walking in peace, walking in alignment with your true self. And that is where your power lies. That is where your greatness is born. In the silence, in the stillness, in the quiet certainty that you are exactly where you need to be. There will come a day when you'll look back and smile at all the moments when you thought everything was falling apart. You'll remember the tears, the sleepless nights, the silence that felt unbearable. And then you'll see how those quiet moments were not signs of failure, but the unfolding of grace. Because in the absence of noise, something beautiful is always born. The version of you that exists today is not the same as the one that existed before the silence. The silence shaped you. The silence refined you. The silence whispered to you truths you had forgotten in the chaos. When life strips away the distractions, when the noise dies down and you're left with yourself, that's when the real work begins. That's when you finally face who you are beneath the surface. And while it may scare you at first, it's in that sacred confrontation where your power begins to rise. You start to shed the roles you've played, the mask you've worn, the expectations others have placed upon you. You begin to meet yourself for the first time, raw, unfiltered, and breathtakingly real. In silence, you see your reflection clearly. And for the first time, you no longer look away. Silence has a way of introducing you to yourself in a way that nothing else can. It doesn't flatter you. It doesn't lie to you. It doesn't entertain your excuses. It simply shows you the truth. And when you are ready to face that truth, no matter how painful or uncomfortable it may be, then you are ready to rise. The world teaches us to speak up, to fight, to be loud in order to be heard. But there is a strength far greater in those who can stay quiet and still and composed, while everything around them screams for attention. Stillness is not weakness, it's mastery. The person who can remain calm while the world is in chaos holds a power few can understand. You don't need to convince anyone of your strength. You don't need to perform. Real strength is quiet. It's disciplined. It's grounded. It's not boastful. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't seek the spotlight. It simply is. And when you embrace that kind of strength, you don't just change your life, you change your world. In silence, you learn that you don't need to control everything to succeed. You don't need to manipulate outcomes or orchestrate every step. You simply need to trust the invisible currents that are always guiding you. Sometimes the greatest victories come not from the battles you fight, but from the ones you walk away from. When you no longer feel the need to prove yourself, you step into a freedom few ever taste. And from that freedom, you rise higher than you ever could through force. Let go of the idea that louder is better. Let go of the belief that action must always be aggressive. Let go of the illusion that rest is laziness and stillness is unproductive. You are not here to run yourself into the ground. You are not here to hustle yourself out of alignment. You are here to live fully, to breathe deeply, to move with intention. You are here to listen, not just speak, to feel, not just do, to be present, not just productive. And you discover all of this only when you give yourself permission to be silent. Silence allows you to realign with what matters. You stop chasing things you never wanted. You stop running with people who were never going where you were meant to go. You stop sacrificing your peace to win battles that aren't worth your time. You stop explaining yourself to people who have already made up their minds. You stopped proving your worth to those who wouldn't see it even if you screamed. And in doing so, you reclaim your energy. You take your power back. You move forward lighter, freer, truer. And when you walk in that kind of authenticity, when you operate from a place of grounded truth, doors begin to open. Not because you forced them, not because you banged on them until someone answered, but because your energy shifted. You stopped trying to become something else and started being who you are. You stopped performing and started existing. And that is magnetic. That is powerful. That is enough. There is no one path to success, but there is a rhythm, a divine timing, a flow that you tap into when you are quiet enough to hear it. The world will always try to rush you. It will try to convince you that if you're not moving fast, you're falling behind. But what if slowing down was the very thing that brought you forward? What if stopping, resting, breathing was the secret to unlocking the next chapter of your life? Because sometimes in our rush to fix things, we miss the fact that nothing is broken. In our rush to get somewhere, we lose the beauty of where we are. In our rush to be heard, we forget the sacredness of listening. And in our rush to be seen, we overlook the value of seeing ourselves. To slow down, quiet the noise, step back, listen, watch, feel, allow life to move through you instead of trying to control every turn. You'll be amazed at what finds you when you stop chasing. When you live from silence, you no longer react to everything. You observe, you notice, you decide, you respond with wisdom, not emotion. You speak when words are necessary and remain quiet when silence says more. And in that space, you become a master of your own life because you are no longer moved by temporary things. You are anchored in something deeper, something eternal. Most people spend their lives distracted by the opinions of others, by the never-ending pursuit of more, by the illusion that their worth is tied to their accomplishments. But those who embrace silence learn to detach. They are no longer addicted to the highs and lows of life. They are steady, they are constant, they are secure. Because their value is not conditional, it simply is. You will be tempted to break your silence, to speak too soon, to defend yourself, to explain your journey to those who don't understand it. But resist that urge. Protect your peace. Not everything needs a reaction. Not every comment deserves a response. Not every situation needs your energy. The more silent you become, the more selective you are. And the more selective you are, the more power you retain. Every time you choose silence over reaction, peace over drama, clarity over chaos, you win. It might not look like a win to the outside world, but your soul knows, your spirit knows, your future self will thank you. Because in those moments, you are not just avoiding conflict, you are cultivating a life of deep alignment. And that alignment will carry you further than any argument ever could. Your silence is not weakness, it's wisdom, it's strength. It's the language of those who have nothing to prove and everything to protect. You don't need to yell to be heard. You don't need to push to be powerful. True power moves in silence. It builds, it observes, it prepares. And when it's time, it acts with precision, with clarity, with purpose. There is a version of you that exists beyond the noise, beyond the expectations, beyond the fear. That version of you is waiting in the silence. That version of you is calm, confident, complete. That version of you doesn't need the world's validation. It simply is. And the only way to reach that version of yourself is to go inward, to strip away everything that isn't real, to quiet the noise, to listen. So go ahead, turn down the volume of the world, disconnect from the chaos, come home to yourself. And in that sacred silence, you will find everything you were ever looking for. Not because you forced it, not because you chased it, but because you created the space for it to find you.